Hello everyone. Ingrid and I are going to do a little thing on learning to weave Baltic style or Norwegian band weaving style. This is called many different things, and it's done traditionally in regions of Scandinavian countries. It's sometimes called Sami bands, Norwegian bands, speckled bands. All of these indicate the same kind of weaving, and typically, at least the ones we're looking at, have an odd number of pattern threads on it. And I'm going to grab just to show you. So this is the one I'm working on today, just to be a fairly simple design. And if you count, we have an odd number of threads. And this style, this particular style that we're doing, often has an odd number of threads. And if I switch over, look at what we're working on. Let's see, there we go. We've got some dark pattern threads and some light background threads. And I tried to make it easy to see. We've threaded wider or thicker pattern threads that I have in purple here, and then the background threads that I have in white are the thinner background threads, and I've used size 10 crochet cotton for the background and size 3 crochet cotton for the pattern threads. And if I hold it up, let's see if I can show this with this camera. The red is pretty thick, and the off-white or the white natural, if you can see that, is pretty thin. So you want something, they say maybe twice as thick. I've got it a little thicker just so that we can see it. If you notice from the grid, there's one pattern thread, 2 background threads, 1 pattern thread, 2 background threads. And actually, I'm reading it. I pointed it out incorrectly. We're actually going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on, the way I have this written. This is our heddled threads, and this is our set of open threads. And what I mean by that, on my ankle loom, it's just traditionally threaded with my string heddles, and I've got 2 sheds going on, so nothing too fancy. Let's see, the next part is our grid. If you notice, we have a square grid on our design, and what you may not notice is the background threads are not indicated there. The grid is just our pattern threads. So we're looking at that, we're looking at just the pattern threads. And if you notice in my picture, I have dots. And I also have indicated nothing and then heddled, and then nothing and then heddled. That's just to try to help people see what we're doing. If I switch to my loom and I pull up the open row, this is the open row, the non-heddled row up. I've got 1, 2, 3 of the brown coppery colored threads. I'm ignoring my little pattern threads off to the side here, and I'm just dealing with the pattern part. When I push down for us to see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern threads on the other shed. So it kind of makes a difference. Let's see where I am with my threads. Let me show you. My shuttle has on the background color just because as I work a pickup pattern, you get gaps where you push down a background thread, a pattern thread, and your weft thread will show through. So if you don't want it to show, let the background threads match the threads you put on your shuttle. So that's what I've done for this today. If you do want a little bit of extra pizzazz, you might put a different color on there. Let's see. So I've just done a couple of plain weave rows. And plain weave rows are lots of fun to do. Let's see. Okay. When I look at my graph, let me see if I can get the graph right beside what we're working on. All right. When I look at my graph, I put lead in here to make the pattern look pretty. Let's see, as we look at a couple bands, let me grab a couple bands. When I do the design, I kind of started off with a little something that mimics the shape. Here's another one. I tried this one and couldn't get it to work the way I wanted, so it was only one repeat. Here's another one. Baltic weaving is gorgeous. There are so many beautiful things you can do. So here I've got this flower shape here, and I kind of did an open area so that I could see the difference between my speckles and the pattern. I put that in green in my grid. So if I look at my grid, and one easy way to keep your place is to use one of the magnetic boards that they sell for cross stitch. That way you can move your magnet and you don't lose your place. So if we look at my magnet here, all right, I'm on the first row of my lead in, and that is a, let's see, which row is that? A heddle row. So that means, I'll push this down. When I push the open threads down, my heddle row is up. So that's the row I want. And that's not where I am. Hold up. Let me get to there. I tend to put my, let's see, okay, when my shuttle is on the left, when my shuttle thread is on the left, I try to be in the lower shed on my ankle bone. That helps me keep it straight. That way, when my shuttle is on the right, I have raised the open threads, and that gives me that shed. So left, lower, raised, right helps me stay where I know where I am, kind of. Okay, so I've got, and I talked my way through and did it wrong. Hold up. Okay, there we go. So I did my, here's my heddle row. I put my shuttle through the shed. My next one is the open one. And you see there are 3 shaded in dotted things. The dotted things mean that the pattern thread is up. All right. So I put my, right there, my next row. If you notice my next row, and let's talk about that. We've got 2 shaded in dots and 2 non-shaded dots. Okay, the dots mean that those are the pattern threads in that row. If they're shaded, you want to keep them. If they're not shaded, you want to push them down. Now to push them down, because we've got, let's see, let me get this in so you can see, I hope, because here's our pattern thread. And if you notice, we've got 2 threads and then another pattern thread, 2 background threads, another pattern thread, 2 background threads. If you notice that, I do not want the first on the left pattern thread. I'm ignoring my border threads completely and just looking at my pattern threads. So I want to push that first one down out of the way. And to do that, I sort of separate it. This is a little cluttered. Hang on, let me get these out of here. Okay, let's see if that's a bit better. I want to separate, we've got the shed, I want to separate this guy, and I want to drop him. Let's see if I put this right there, maybe that'll help. Okay, there, now we just see the top layer. There's my first pattern thread. I want to get rid of it. So I drop him. I put my finger so it goes down. My next two, I want to keep those two in the middle, so I keep them where they are. And the last pattern thread I want to drop. So I have, and let's see if we can get a shot so you can see it. I have my finger in where I want the shuttle to go. And I've dropped two of my pattern threads down. They're now going to be on the bottom row. And I am going to put my shuttle in where my finger was. And if you notice, you can kind of check yourself. I've got just two pattern threads in the middle showing, and I've got a blank space here and here where I pushed them down. And now I've unwound my shuttle to the extent that I've tangled. Hold up. All right, fix that. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to change sheds, feet down, and now we only see on that row those two. Now my next row, let me just show it in the screen. I scooted it up one, that was that one. My next row is the open shed. I don't have an H there, so it's open. I should have 3 pattern threads up, and I do. 1, 2, 3. But I don't want that middle one. I want to keep this one and this one. All right. And I don't want the middle one, so we're going to drop him. So I pick between the 2 background threads between the pattern one and just drop it to the bottom. So you see there, I've got a gap right there. All right, send my shuttle through. I found it hard to learn to do this and keep my selvages even the first few times. So maybe focus on getting your pattern right and then worry about the selvages next time. Okay, next row heddled. These 2 are colored in, these 2 aren't. So I want to keep the left and right one, drop the 2 middle pattern threads. All right, so I keep my left one, drop the next one, drop the next one, keep the right one. Let's see. Let me put the shuttle in. All right. Okay. Is that making sense, guys?
Yeah, I'm following you.
Are you following? I know this is slow. Ingrid is going to show in a few minutes exactly how snazzy a special heddle is for doing this. Okay, I'm up to the first purple row of my pattern, which is actually the pattern here. So I'm off the lead in. There was my little lead in, and I'm onto the pattern. First row, I only want the middle one. So I'm going to drop the one on the left and the one on the right. All right, so I've just got one there. Second row. Second row. Okay, move that up. Oh, we've hit something I haven't talked about. We've got our 4 dotted squares there. Those indicate the pattern threads that are in this row. I don't want the first one. I don't want the last one. But if you look in the middle there, there's a blank square that's shaded in. That means you want to pick it up from the bottom. So, okay, I'm going to go left to right. I want to drop the first one. There, boom, it went. I want to keep the second. There's my second one. Now, and let me see. I have an index card here just for this. don't know if that's helpful. Okay, so there's where I dropped the first one. For this, between the second and third pattern threads, I want to pick that one up. To pick up, you're going to split the two background threads and grab the one from underneath. Hold on. Okay, let me do split. And you see one kind of pops up right there. And let's see what I've got. I've got 1, 2, 3 pattern threads now, and the fourth one I don't want. It needs to go down. And let's examine it. So I picked up the middle one right there. So to push down one you don't want, you just push it down and hold it down with your finger as you do the row. To pick up one that you do want from the bottom, you're going to separate. Let's see, where am I? All right. Oh, you know what? Let me talk about what happens if you do an oops, because I missed a thread here. If you do an oops and want to unweave, you can't just move your shed like we do in plain weave with an ankle loom. You can't just go up and fix it or down and fix it. You have to actually do a little lasso or cradle. Pick up the ones that were a boo-boo and try the row again. And believe me, if you do much of this, you're going to need it. All right. Okay, we're back at that first row. Sorry. Okay, this is what happens when you make a boo-boo. All right. Let's go back lower. Okay, so we've got the first row nice and pretty. So now we're on the second row again, and we're looking at drop the left pattern thread, keep the second pattern thread, pick up a middle pattern thread, keep the next pattern thread, and drop the last one. Okay, let's try that again. There. All right. Okay, now I've got all the threads, I think, for that row. All right. So I've got 3 that matches those 3. And I'm going to move up to, all right, if I look at my dots, 1, 2, 3 dots. Okay, so I want to keep all 3 pattern threads, and I want to pick up in between that middle one and first one and that middle one and third one. So if I look, let's see. All right, to pick up, you separate the 2 background threads. Okay, we've got a lot of threads there. Let's see if this helps. To pick up, you separate the 2 background threads, pick up the one that's in between, separate the 2 background threads, pick up the one that's in between. So this was just a pickup row. When you're doing a bigger piece, this is 7 threads. When you're doing something like a 13 or 15 thread one, you're going to have to kind of be careful and go in order. Maybe left to right or right to left. Just pick something. Okay. All right, so I'm on the next row, which is a heddle row. I want all 4 of my pattern threads to stay put, but I want to pick up right in between each pattern thread, leaving the center open. So I'm gonna get my fingers in there. Okay, pick up between first and second. There we go. Pick up between third and fourth. Some people use a knitting needle there, or a little fancy pickup stick that's small enough. I've just gotten used to using my fingers. Okay, so I've got the gap started right there. Next row. All right, let's see. Here are my 3, 1, 2, 3 pattern threads. I don't want the middle one. I want the left bottom thread to come up, and I want the right most bottom thread to come up. Okay, so I want the leftmost bottom thread to come up. I want the rightmost bottom thread to come up, and I want to drop that middle one. Let's see if I can do that. With a lot of what we call pickup, and some people don't like to call this pickup because I'm picking up and dropping down or pushing down. With a lot of these designs, you're going to have to both drop down and pick up. Let's see, last row for this one. All right, I want to keep the 2 on each left and right side, and I want to drop the 2 middle ones. All right, so I want to keep these 2 on each edge and drop the middle ones. And let's see. There we go. All right, and that is 1 design repetition. If you notice in my drawing, I've used a red line to indicate my repeat marks just so I can see them. Chris or Ingrid, what have I left out?
You did undoing. You did.
I did undoing. Not where I meant to do undoing. Oh,
That was very
okay.
good.
One other thing before I turn it over to Ingrid. If you're doing your own designs here, if you want to graph out your own designs, you know, something fancy, this is sort of similar to what Ingrid's working on her ankle loom right now. Sort of similar. If you look and count vertically on the grid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's a gap. 1, 2, 3, that's fine. You don't want more than 7 in a row vertically, or your floats are so long. So some of the design folks say keep it 5 to 7 for the longest. I think that was the other thing I wanted to
Could you just
talk
point
about.
out the green threads on your pattern that you?
Yes. Okay, let's see, Chris. Right here. All right. And it looks like I deviated from what I told you to do, which is kind of like, oh, whoops. Yeah. Okay. I was just tinkering, and I put, it looks like 2 background threads, and then 2 green threads and 2 yellow threads. And then I think I put 2 blue threads just to give it a sort of definition. The pattern itself, I stuck with the 1 thick thread that I've got as purple there, and 1, 2 background threads, 1 thick thread, 1, 2 pattern threads, 1 background thread. On this, I indicated that I just put actually 4, 2 here and 2 here, background threads, and then 2 dark and 2 dark, just something contrasty. But I didn't actually do that on this. Sorry. I did that on this one. And I shouldn't have played. I just got excited, Chris, and decided I needed something else. That is the design that I've indicated on this sheet. Sorry.
Yeah, no, they're both pretty. They're both really nice.
To get these checks, you do a heddle thread in one color and the open thread in another color. So I've got 2 heddled green and 2 open yellow. And that gets you nice little checks in plain weave, which is all my border is doing.
It's really pretty.
Now, when I did this one, I can tell you this took forever.
That would on regular pickup.
On pickup, it took forever. So Ingrid is going to show us what you can do when you buy a neat heddle from, let's see, Store Stalka.
Store stalker, yeah.
Store Stalka. And so I'm going to turn it over, and I think I've been saying the name of the heddle wrong. Suna or Sana. I'm not sure which it is, but it's Sunna. And it looks like this. So, Ingrid, you
All
want
right,
to,
well, okay, you can get these heddles in different number of pattern threads, and that's really what determines your width also. This one has got 5.
We need to get Dave to spotlight you.
Oh,
oh,
I think Dave fell asleep.
I think I put Dave to sleep. Did I put you to sleep, Dave?
I can't hear him. He muted himself.
He's muted himself. Let's see,
No,
Dave.
I
could
didn't
we
go to
get-
sleep. I'm just sitting here
Okay.
contemplating, staying out of the
Okay.
conversation.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought I'd put you to sleep.
I am fully enjoying it.
Okay, I
All
think
right.
Ingrid's going to show us now the slick, easy way to do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So these are the type of heddle that we're talking about, the Sammy band weaving heddles. You have your pattern threads that are in long slots, and they can move only a little bit. You've got your background. Now, I only did it in 2 colors just to make it easier to see what's going on here. You've got holes and slots, holes and slots. You thread when I usually thread these, I thread my background first, come back, make another warp of just the pattern heddles. And let me tighten this up. Okay, so when you pull this up and down, you can see that those pattern threads pretty much float between the different white threads that are the background. And that's what makes the pickup so easy. Now, I did plain weave, which is just all white. Now you can see that's all just background, and on the back, all those pattern threads have floated, which won't be a problem because it is on the back. I'm going to hook up my handy little thing here, and we can go. So a pattern that I was trying, now this is only 5 threads in the pattern. So this is the pattern I'm doing. And you just follow, okay, so on this row, we're going to pick up all 5. You have to maintain your up, down, and then left and right, of course. So my first one here, I want to pick up all 5. So the way I've got it set up, I'm going to pick this up. Now you can see all the whole threads are up. These are pattern threads floating in the middle. I want all 5 of those pattern threads to show, so I'm just going to take my nice little shuttle, also from Store Stalka, put it through there. Picked up all 5, easy. Pull it through.
Much easier.
Yes, next row is, I gotta put some weight on this.
Hey,
2,
Ingrid,
yes,
what's the difference between that shuttle and the one Cindy used? Why would you?
this has got a very nice pointy end on it. Makes it very easy to pick up everything. You just kind of scoop it.
Is that
So we're,
specifically for that particular?
it's good for pickup. I think it's more almost like a fishing shuttle, a fishnet shuttle, but it works very well for this. Okay, so my next row is 2, skip 1, 2. Pulled it down. So now these threads are now up, which is the opposite shed. 2 and 2. Got them. Go through. Done. I'm sorry, was that easy?
It was easy. It was
Okay.
very easy.
Next one, next row is just picking up 1 on either end. So there are 3 that are not picked up in the middle. Same deal again. Leave those 3 down, pick that one up, done.
See how she can grab it, Chris, with that hook part of the shuttle?
Okay, then the next row,
Yes, I do.
the next row is this one, which is 2 that are next to each other just on the one side. So again, pulled it down, brings up these threads, leaves these pattern ones in the middle, pick those 2 up, scoop it on down, tighten it up. Next row is this one, which is picking up the 3, leave the 2. Move it up, pick up 3, leave the 2. So you can see how much faster my rows go. And then this is now the last one, which is, well, the repeat of this pattern. So I'm skipping the 1, picking up the 3, leaving the 1. And that's that whole set already done. And this is what
Oh, cool.
that looks like woven.
Yeah.
And pretty similar to the one that was in the, all right, we'll get rid of, okay, so that's, and the thing that's nice about using it on a backstrap method, you've got this fun little clamp. You can get a belt or make yourself a belt that hooks in around your back. You've got your heddle, and then you've got just the end of it. Let me see if I can just scoot it over. Well, I've got a clamp on a chair here, and I'm just pulling I made a loop, pull it
Okay.
off, and now this can go wherever I want to go in that little, everything's together.
So I know Sandy did yards and yards of that. So when she did yards and yards, to handle that much on a backstrap setup, you
Mhm.
just do that sort of hook thing.
I would just tie another knot or an
Another
easy
knot?
knot, and then just, tie and undo it as you go.
Okay.
So you can make it as far away or as close as you want. All right, so this is now the bigger one. I left it on my ankle loom. This is the 13 thread store stalker. So again, it's the same concept. You've got your white background threads that go up and down. This is a little harder on the ankle, but you can see the blue is limited as to where it can go, but it does make it float in between. And this can do more complicated, of course, patterns. And the one I'm trying to do is this. Let me see if I can get this out of the way. Is this whole thing here.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
So I had started this one and didn't like it. So now I'm over here starting this. Because I used a variegated thread, it's turning out kind of
Neat.
But again, instead of having to go pick up everything, manually, my next row is going to be this one here where I've got 1 down, then 3. So it's picking up groups of 3 across. Oh, all right, I used the same shuttle, but anyway. I only have one of these shuttles. So we're just going to do it this way. Okay, get my arm out of the way. We want the 1, we pick up 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. So now that is the row I've picked up there. I don't know if that's a little easier to see.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Okay, so I picked up those, and I can, since I have a little tail left on here, I'm not going to use that. I'll just pull this through. I use the same thread just to make it, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so tighten this up, pull this one down. I can still pack it down with that thing. All right, so then row done. 13 threads of pickup, and it's like that. So
And it would have taken me 10 minutes to explain one row.
right, and I highly recommend it just because if you really want to do a lot of pickup, you're going to need one of these. Go ahead.
Yes, it does make it easier, I can tell you.
And the same deal again, you do the plain weave, and it does leave all the threads
On the back.
Oh, well, you can see it over there. I did a bunch of plain weave over here.
Oh,
So that's
yeah,
all the
okay.
variegated threads that are floating on the back, but that's pretty
Okay.
much it for that.
So the heddle, the Suna heddle or the Sana heddle
Mhm.
makes it much quicker to do pickup for the Baltic style patterns. The only limitation is you have to do the numbers that they make. You know, so they have the 13 pattern. I think they have
Right.
a 17 pattern. I forget now.
I'm not sure how high they go.
Right.
I picked one kind of in the middle.
Yes.
And of course, your bands will be different widths depending on what size yarn you use. This is 5/2. And so this is what, about inch, maybe a little bit more, 1.25 is about what you get with the 5/2.
So if I got the 15 pattern or the 17 pattern heddle, could I use it to run 11 pattern threads and not warp all the pattern threads? Will it work that way?
I would think so, because again, you know, in the solid here where you're not using any pattern threads, it doesn't
works.
have any gaps. It doesn't have gaps. So
Okay.
I would think that you'd be okay. Now I'm going to have to try that.
Oh, sorry. I just wondered if the up and down shed would work still between, if you didn't thread one of the middle slots, one of the pattern thread slots.
If you look at it, I mean, you pull it. I mean, it's just like I said, it's the same as doing the plain weave here. Is that I've just pulled it. It does get wider as you've got pattern threads in it. So I would think you could put it, no matter what, you know, any number in there.
Okay, I'm going to give that a try.
That. I am too. I'm going to be in here snipping things out.
Yeah. Oh no, don't.
That's okay. I can do that.
Okay.
Explain just a little bit about that card. And you buy a card that has 13 slots for your pattern. It's not a specific pattern for that one you bought. It's just.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, the pattern was out of a book. I just copied the page to make it easier for me to put it on my magnet board. This is out of Norwegian Pickup Band Weaving.
Yeah, here's the book. I've got that one too. You can see the cover of it.
And the card that you get is just a nondescript card for a 13 pattern. Can you use less? Could you use 11 threads in that card or not?
That's what we were just talking about. Yeah, we're going to try it.
Okay.
We're not sure.
I think we can.
The terminology yet.
Well, because if I pull, I mean, if you pull these out, if I don't want to look at these, I mean, as you beat, it'll pull that in. It won't know that those pattern threads are missing, is what I think. I think you'd be okay.
So we'll still get a regular even weave shed, even if we don't thread the pattern threads. I bet that would work.
Right.
So if you were going to do a different pattern than that one, and say it was on like the size of Cindy's, which was, I don't know, 7?
7.
You would use a different card?
I would think you could use this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is a heddle.
The heddle, yeah.
So really, if you've got the 13
in theory, in our theory,
we don't know if that works real well.
This is over my head, so I'm asking questions. I have no idea what I'm asking.
Oh, I'm glad you're here, Chris.
Thinking, I see no reason why it wouldn't work as long as all of the holes are filled in the center, as long as it's just edges that aren't filled.
Right. I mean, you just like you could pull out.
Yeah. I mean,
I would think, because because I didn't even go all the way out to the edges on this either.
Yeah. So,
that's right, you didn't.
Don't leave holes in the center, but.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to do it, you could narrow it from the sides as long as you keep because you need to keep your center so you get a good pattern. I mean, if you otherwise it's going to be too hard to do. You've got to have a center, which is marked on here. So you've got your center. So as long as you have a center and go out from there, I don't see why you can't do as many as you want.
That you're not using now. So
yeah, you could. I would think that you could just eliminate whatever. Well, the thing is, I used all the pattern threads on here. I just didn't go all the way out with my background.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But we were talking about eliminating pattern threads out of here if you wanted to do fewer.
Yeah.
And I think you could do it. I don't see why.
Yeah.
I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Well, I've got the 7 one, so as soon as I get woven off what I have on there, I'll try it with 5.
Well, I'll snip some of these out and see what happens.
Some?
I'll just snip these out and we'll go down to a 9. I have to go find a new pattern. Why not?
Okay. Well, cool. Well, now, Chris, did we answer what you needed?
Or did we confuse you more?
No, I think it's very interesting. You guys did a great job explaining it. The one on your, I forget what it's called when you hook it to your belt, backstrap.
Backstrap. Mm-hmm.
That looks like a floor loom that has no tension. I mean, it's just like scary looking. It looks like
Yeah.
See, okay, so now I just jumped it all on top of each other, right? But
yeah.
it very easily comes all undone. I just hook it back. You go back in reverse order, hook it back on the hook. The heddle keeps everything in order, and it's ready to go.
Right, but when it's bouncing around and everything, that just drives me nuts.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, that's me not sitting still either.
But it may be like a floor loom, except you don't have to rent a truck to take it to a meeting.
Yeah,
Right. The portability is what's nice about the.
yes.
Well,
I'm sorry about that. That was me.
No.
well,
Jumping around.
You can't
I
believe
need my-
you can't believe how many knots I have had in yarns that when I was trying to warp a loom. So that just
Yes, that's worrying
You're
you.
welcome to the club, Chris.
Yeah.
But see, once it's through the heddle, and then you put tension on it, you're good.
yes.
You sit there under the tree and weave until
Exactly. Or tied to
Exactly.
the doorknob, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Or
Now,
clamp it to the chair.
I wasn't doing well with my salvages when I took mine off the ankle loom and used it as a backstrap, Ingrid, and I
Mhm.
think it's just me. So I put it on an old rigid heddle loom, and that's working, Chris. So now the only thing you got to watch is your heddle can't hit the sides of the loom. If you've got one of the little looms, like a samplet, the heddle might not fit in that space well enough. But yeah,
I was
had trouble.
sitting here thinking that backstrap loom might make a good companion for a road trip, not on your bike, but in the car, if you could figure out what to tie it to up on the dashboard. And that might take a little prior drilling and mounting. But it would be great. If you guys
Drilling.
had gone out to see Grandma in Kansas, you could get several inches or feet of.
Well, I do have my
band
little
woven.
spinning wheel that can do that. So maybe I'd be spinning instead of weaving. I don't know.
Yeah, oh, well, okay. You got your spinning wheel. That's fine.
Well, it'd be a heck of a lot better than putting the rigid heddle loom in your lap when you're in the front seat.
Apparently people do that though.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's scary.
a little bit. I worry about that.
Or we
Especially
could
if
use
you're
this
driving.
little fun guy. This is a good one to do in the car. You've
This
seen
is-
this.
Yes. You can make yourself little scrubbies.
Oh, the
Yep, I've been
hello,
making little
yes.
scrubbies.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, do you have any that you can show us?
They're all in use, but
In
let me
the
go find one.
Trying to
While
decide
she's
if
gone
that's what
find
the next to last issue of the Swedish Weaving magazine had a big piece on.
No kidding.
I think that was the hello. It was something very similar to it. That
Uh-huh. Well, after Ingrid showed me hers, I had to buy one. So I've got the little kit in my purse for whenever I go anywhere.
Oh, cute.
Okay.
It's just a little scrubby, the little scrubby yarn. And it's fun to sit just and makes little useful things.
Could we do